Tokyo's summers bring intense heat. This heat can be extremely dangerous. It often acts as a silent, unseen killer. This is particularly true for older people. Their bodies are not the same as younger bodies. They may feel the effects of heat less directly. They find it much harder to cope during summer. This has become a very serious urban problem. Heat stroke is the primary danger in these conditions. It occurs when the body becomes dangerously overheated. The body loses its natural ability to cool itself down. This overheating can cause severe damage to vital organs. Tragically, it can rapidly lead to death. A great number of elderly residents in Tokyo face this risk. They are an especially vulnerable part of the population. It is crucial that we understand the reasons for this. The temperatures in Tokyo are steadily rising. July of the previous year, 2024, was the hottest July on record. These temperature records date all the way back to 1898. This clearly indicates that summers are becoming more severe. The danger posed by extreme heat is growing with each passing year. More and more people are suffering from heat-related illnesses. This escalating trend is a cause for significant concern. The city must grapple with this worsening reality. This essay will explore this pressing issue. We will examine the various factors that contribute to it. We will look closely at the underlying reasons. We will strive to understand the multifaceted challenges involved. For Tokyo's considerable elderly population, summer is a difficult time. It represents a period of heightened and often fatal risk. It is imperative that we pay close attention to their plight. Their safety and well-being depend on our understanding and action. Air conditioning units can be true lifesavers. They create cool, safe indoor environments during heat waves. However, some elderly individuals deliberately avoid using them. They hold certain incorrect ideas about air conditioners. These misconceptions are surprisingly common among older citizens. Many firmly believe that air conditioners are bad for their health. This is a dangerous and widespread misunderstanding. It puts them directly in harm's way each summer. One prevalent belief is that ACs cause air conditioner sickness. People think the artificially cooled air is somehow unnatural. They worry that it might weaken their body's constitution, or they fear it could make their immune system less effective. Consequently, they choose not to turn on their AC units. This happens even when outdoor temperatures are dangerously high. This particular belief is deeply ingrained in older generations. It is a significant barrier to self-protection. Many victims of fatal heat stroke are discovered indoors. They often have air conditioning units already installed in their homes, but these crucial cooling machines are found switched off. This stark fact reveals the powerful influence of these beliefs. They opt for the oppressive heat over the relief of cool air. They do not seem to fully grasp the true nature of the danger. The intense summer heat is far more perilous than the AC. This reality needs to be communicated more effectively. This fundamental misunderstanding is a key part of the problem. It actively prevents people from taking steps to protect themselves. Widespread education is urgently needed to change these perspectives. People must learn that air conditioners are beneficial, not harmful. This is especially true during periods of deadly, prolonged heat waves. Using an air conditioner is not a sign of weakness. Instead, it is a sensible and necessary way to stay safe. This message needs to be clear and repeated often. Operating an air conditioner certainly costs money. Electricity bills can increase quite significantly with AC use. This is a major source of anxiety for many elderly people. It is especially worrying for those living on limited funds. They often subsist on fixed incomes, such as small pensions. They must carefully monitor every single yen they spend. This financial pressure makes them hesitant to use their ACs. They fear the economic burden more than the heat. They live in dread of receiving unexpectedly large utility bills, so they consciously try to use the air conditioner as little as possible. Sometimes they choose not to use it at all, even in extreme heat. They attempt to simply endure the sweltering conditions instead. They mistakenly believe that saving money is the higher priority. This happens even when their physical health is clearly at risk. It is an incredibly difficult and unfair choice for them to make. The pressure to be frugal can have deadly consequences. Japan also possesses a very strong ingrained culture of saving energy. People are consistently taught not to waste precious resources. This societal value is often referred to as setsuden. It is generally considered a commendable and responsible habit, but during periods of extreme, life-threatening heat, it can be harmful. Some elderly individuals apply this energy-saving principle too strictly. They feel a sense of guilt if they use too much electricity. This guilt overrides their need for a safe temperature. This ingrained mindset, when combined with genuine cost fears, is dangerous. It leads directly to the underutilization of air conditioners. They might only switch the AC on for a very short period, or they might set the thermostat to a relatively high temperature. This minimal use does not cool the room sufficiently. As a result, the serious risk of heat stroke stubbornly remains. It represents a tragic conflict between ingrained frugality and basic safety. A balance needs to be found to protect vulnerable lives. A significant number of elderly people in Tokyo live entirely alone. They might not have any close family members living nearby, or they may lack friends who can visit them on a regular basis. This profound isolation can become extremely dangerous. This is particularly true during the relentlessly hot summer months. They are effectively cut off from sources of help and vital support. This isolation makes them far more vulnerable to the impacts of heat. They suffer in silence, often unseen and unheard. When an elderly person is living alone, they might not be aware of heat warnings. Official advice and crucial alerts may simply not reach them. They might not regularly watch television news broadcasts, or they may not read online news updates or government alerts. Consequently, they often do not realize how severe the heat actually is, nor do they understand what specific steps they should be taking. This lack of crucial information is a very significant problem. Knowledge is the first line of defense against heat stroke. If they begin to feel unwell due to the oppressive heat, there is no one to notice. There is nobody present to help them get a glass of water, or to turn on the air conditioner for them if they are struggling, or critically to call for medical assistance if it becomes necessary. Their symptoms can worsen with alarming speed. This can happen without anyone else knowing they are in acute distress. The silence of their apartment can become a deadly trap. Quick intervention is often impossible in such situations. This pervasive social isolation acts as a silent partner to the deadly heat. It means that developing problems are not readily observed, and crucial help often does not arrive in a timely manner. Strong community connections are therefore incredibly important. Simply checking on elderly neighbors can genuinely save lives. Breaking down this wall of isolation is crucial for their continued safety. Society must find ways to reach these hidden individuals. Their well-being depends on external vigilance and care. Section 5. The aging body's struggle, physical frailty and heat perception. As individuals grow older, their bodies undergo many changes. These physiological changes make them inherently more vulnerable to heat. Their bodies do not manage high temperatures as efficiently as before. The body's natural cooling mechanisms tend to become weaker. For instance, their ability to sweat might be significantly reduced. This reduction in cooling capacity is a natural part of the aging process. It leaves them less able to cope with environmental stresses. The summer heat becomes a formidable physical challenge. Older adults often do not feel heat or thirst as intensely. Their sensory perception can become somewhat duller with advancing age. Therefore, they might not readily realize that they are overheating, or they may not recognize that they are becoming dangerously dehydrated. They might genuinely believe that they are feeling perfectly fine. This occurs even when their body is actually in serious danger. This critical lack of self-awareness is exceptionally risky. They cannot act on dangers they do not perceive. They might also be living with pre-existing health conditions. Common ailments include heart problems, high blood pressure, or diabetes. These chronic conditions can exacerbate the effects of heat stroke, or they can make it much harder for the body to cope with heat stress. Certain medications can also interfere with the body's heat regulation. This complex interplay of factors further increases their vulnerability. Each individual's risk profile is unique but often elevated. The aging body has fewer reserves to fight the heat. Recognizing the early warning signs of heat stroke can also be difficult. This is true both for the individuals themselves and for those around them. Symptoms such as confusion, dizziness, or nausea might be missed, or these crucial signs could be mistakenly attributed to something else. This delay in recognition inevitably means a delay in seeking help, and when dealing with heat stroke, every single minute truly counts. Prompt action is essential for a positive outcome. Delayed response can lead to irreversible damage or death. Section 6. Gaman, the double-edged sword of endurance. In Japanese culture, there is a deeply embedded concept known as gaman. This word essentially means to endure hardship with great patience. It signifies bearing difficulties stoically without any complaint. This quality is often viewed as a significant virtue in Japan. It is considered a clear sign of inner strength and resilience. People are often taught the importance of gaman from a young age. It is widely regarded as a fundamental part of the national character. This cultural value shapes reactions to adversity. However, this emphasis on gaman can become dangerous in extreme heat. Elderly individuals might consciously try to endure the intense discomfort. They might tell themselves that it is normal to feel extremely hot, or they might believe that they should simply tolerate the suffering. They often do not want to appear weak or frail to others, nor do they wish to bother anyone with their personal problems. This reluctance to admit distress can be fatal. The cultural script of Stoicism overrides self-preservation. This pervasive culture of endurance can actively stop them from using air conditioning. This happens even if they are feeling very hot and distinctly unwell. They might think to themselves, "I can certainly handle this," or perhaps this unpleasant feeling will surely pass soon. They attempt to push through the increasing suffering and discomfort. They do this instead of taking simple, effective steps to cool down. This inaction significantly increases their risk of developing heat stroke. Gaman transforms from a virtue into a liability. Therefore, gaman can become a formidable barrier to ensuring their safety. It effectively prevents people from seeking necessary relief from the heat. It encourages them to ignore their body's critical warning signs. While the ability to endure is admirable in many situations, extreme heat is not one. Acknowledging discomfort and then taking appropriate action is vital. This is especially true for the vulnerable elderly population. Their health should not be gambled for the sake of stoicism. A shift in mindset is needed during dangerous heat waves. Section 7. The heat's toll, tragic numbers from recent summers. Recent summers in the bustling metropolis of Tokyo have been deadly. The official statistics paint an undeniably grim and worrying picture. In the summer of the previous year, 2024, far too many lives were lost. Between the months of June and early September that year, 252 people died. These deaths were all attributed to heat stroke within Tokyo alone. This figure represented a new tragic and unwelcome record. The rising trend in heat-related fatalities is alarming. Each number represents a personal and family tragedy. The month of July in 2024 was particularly devastating. More than 120 people succumbed to heat stroke during that single month. A large proportion of these victims were elderly individuals. Most of them were discovered deceased inside their own homes. Disturbingly, many had air conditioners installed, but were not using them. This fact underscores the problems we have previously discussed. Misconceptions, cost fears, and cultural factors clearly played a significant role. The pattern of these deaths is tragically consistent. Looking even closer at the July 2024 heatstroke fatalities, a staggering 98% of these deaths occurred indoors. 79 of the victims actually owned air conditioning units but had not used them. Another 28 victims had no air conditioning available at all. The age distribution of the victims also tells a sobering story. Many were in their 70s, their 80s, and even their 90s. The oldest and most physically vulnerable members of society suffered the most. Their advanced age compounded their risk. The city's emergency services were stretched to their absolute limits. The number of ambulance dispatches reached unprecedented record highs. In July 2024 alone, there were over 91,000 emergency dispatches. This was the highest number ever recorded for a single month in Tokyo. This clearly demonstrates the immense scale of the public health crisis. The extreme heat placed an enormous strain on the city's resources, and most tragically, many families were left to mourn lost loved ones. The human cost of these heat waves is immense. Section 8, sounding the alarm, how authorities are fighting back. The Japanese government and Tokyo's local authorities are deeply concerned. They fully recognize that this is an extremely serious and growing problem. They are actively taking various steps to try and protect people. Public awareness campaigns form a very large part of their strategy. They are making concerted efforts to provide clear and accessible information. This information focuses on how to prevent heat stroke effectively. Educating the public is a fundamentally important first step. Knowledge empowers individuals to take protective measures. Officials strongly advise people to stay indoors during peak heat hours. They consistently recommend drinking plenty of fluids throughout the day. And most importantly, they urge everyone to use air conditioning. New and improved heat stroke alert systems are also now in place. These advanced systems issue timely warnings in many different areas. They activate when the assessed danger level becomes critically high. This helps people to prepare and take necessary precautions. Early warnings can save lives by promoting proactive behavior. To help alleviate concerns about the cost of using air conditioning, some support is offered. For instance, the Tokyo Metropolitan Government waived basic water utility fees. This measure was intended to ease overall living expenses for residents slightly. The underlying hope is that this will help people feel they can afford to use air conditioning. Authorities are also making efforts to check on vulnerable individuals. This outreach focuses particularly on elderly citizens who are living alone. These welfare checks aim to provide direct support and advice. Identifying those at risk is a key preventative measure. They also provide specific advice to the public regarding emergency calls. Residents are encouraged to use fans and air conditioning units indoors. They're reminded to drink water regularly to stay hydrated, and they are asked to avoid making unnecessary calls to ambulance services. This is to ensure that ambulances remain available for genuine, life-threatening emergencies. These combined efforts demonstrate a strong commitment to tackling this issue. However, it remains a very significant and complex challenge. Continuous adaptation and innovation in strategies are needed. Section 9, Towards a Cooler Tomorrow, Safeguarding Tokyo's Elders. The persistent threat of deadly summer heat is not diminishing. Global temperatures are, unfortunately, continuing their upward trend. Climate experts consistently warn of more frequent and intense extreme heat events. This means that Tokyo's substantial elderly population will continue to be at risk. We must collectively find and implement effective long-term solutions. Protecting these vulnerable citizens is a major societal priority. Their safety should be at the forefront of urban planning. A multi-pronged approach is essential for meaningful impact. Changing deeply rooted ideas and behaviors inevitably takes considerable time. Misconceptions about the health effects of air conditioning are hard to shift. The cultural emphasis on gaman, or endurance, is also highly influential. genuine worries about household finances are very real for many seniors. Addressing these complex and interconnected factors requires sustained, ongoing effort. Simple, clear messages repeated often through various channels can gradually help. Patience and persistence are key to fostering behavioral change. Building trust with vulnerable communities is also crucial. Community involvement is absolutely essential in this endeavor. Neighbors actively checking on other neighbors can undoubtedly save lives. Family members can play a vital role in encouraging safe practices. Volunteers can offer invaluable support to isolated or frail seniors. Building stronger, more resilient social networks is fundamentally key. These networks provide a crucial safety net for the most vulnerable. Everyone in society has a potential role to play in this effort. Collective responsibility can lead to collective protection. Ultimately, saving lives from extreme heat requires a comprehensive, combined approach. This includes proactive government action, widespread public education, and individual responsibility. We need to effectively help the elderly understand the serious risks they face, and we must empower them to confidently use cooling measures so they can navigate Tokyo's increasingly hot summers with greater safety. Ensuring a cooler, safer future for them is a vital shared goal. Their dignity and well-being depend on our collective commitment and action. The challenge is great, but the imperative to act is greater.